this part of the tutorials of JavaScript, we're going to talk about the strict mode. So generally, strict mode is used when we want to have a more strict JavaScript rules applied on our codes. So for example, right here we can define some variables like this. For example, b equals 6. But if we write this in the strict mode this way, it's going to throw an error because we haven't defined the type of the variable, whether it's var, whether it's let or const. So there is nothing written behind this variable b. So the strict mode is going to let us know about some of the warnings and some of the times that we've written the numbers or strings in a way that could be a mistake from us. So generally, JavaScript is not very much in a strict mode these days, and it's becoming easier every day. Notice that we're not using semicolons here, and JavaScript does not throw any error. But let us see what happens when we do this inside when we use a strict mode. So before I tell you how we can use the strict mode in JavaScript, let us create a new file and then we go after applying it. So error.js here, let's copy this because we want to use the exact same structure about the strict mode, and we're going to catch the errors and see what they are. So strict.js, and also we had error.html. So let me find that one. Should be right over here. Okay, right here, and copy, paste. So let me rename this to strict.html. So instead of the strict.html, we're going to see the errors, and we're also going to refer to strict.js. So let's save this one and let us go after the strict.js. So right here, I'm going to write something else inside of the try block. Also going to forget about finally. We're going to focus mainly on the errors. So right here, we're going to use strict mode. So if you want to use strict mode in our script, we're going to write quotation mark, and inside of it we're going to use strict mode. So strict mode right here. So let's save this. Actually here we should use strict instead of strict mode. So if you want to be on a strict mode, you can write use strict, and this will apply the strict mode. So now we can see what the error is. I can write a equals 5. Let's save this and open up one of our browsers. So right here we had, what was the name? It was strict mode, so it was S. So let's find it, strict mode HTML. Okay, open it up. So as you can see, it says A is not defined, right? So let me close error.html. So as you can see, it says A is not defined, and if it wasn't a strict mode, then you wouldn't see that, right? Because we did it in the previous tutorials. So let's save this, and I've just commented out the use strict, and we're going to see if you're going to have this error. So as you can see, we don't have it anymore because we don't have a strict mode right here. So instead of this, let's write let a equals 5. Let's save this and now refresh the page. As you can see, we have no error. So even with the strict mode, not writing a semicolon will not be an error. So there's no problem right here with the latest versions of JavaScript. Also imagine that we have a number like b equals to, for example, the number starts from 0. So 0, for example, 10. And this kind of mistake is created by you, and you've done this accidentally. So you didn't know that you're writing 0 before 19, so it becomes 019. And then let's save this and go after the browser, refresh the page. So this should show us some errors. Why doesn't it do that? So the main reason should be, so let me just comment this one, and let b equals to this number. So as you can see here, my IDE VS Code is showing a problem here. But interestingly, in our browser, we're not seeing any error, but this is an error, okay? As you can see, if we try to write, for example, document dot get element by ID, and then, for example, here I write number dot inner HTML equals to b here. Also in our HTML code, we write here, instead of print, write b. Actually number, so number, and save this. And right here we have number 2. Okay, so let us refresh the page. And as you can see, number 19 is printed out here. So strict mode here didn't catch the error, but it fixed the number to 19, and no problem with that. But in the recent versions of JavaScript, it would be an error using the strict mode. Actually here we haven't uncommented this one, because if we had, then it would have been an error. Okay, so even with this version of JavaScript, we're going to have an error. So let's see this. The main reason it wouldn't show the error was because it's not showing any error actually, but it doesn't print the number anyway, and that is because it's strict mode. So here it hasn't caught the error and hasn't shown this, but this is an error, because if it wasn't an error, then we would have seen b inside of our HTML code. So let's comment this another time, save the code, and you will see that by refreshing the page, we have 19 printed out here. So not all the times the errors are caught, or we have some error thrown, but notice that we can test whether something is an error or not by just printing out the variable. Okay, let's use a strict mode another time, and as you will see, JavaScript will not fix this, and it will be an error, although it wouldn't throw any error. Also imagine that we want to delete b, and also let me comment this part. So also let me comment b and have a again. So we've declared a with let, but let's imagine we want to delete a. So if we use a strict mode, this will be an error. So let's see if our browser is going to show this error, and JavaScript will throw any error. But anyway, as you can see here, it's an error because it said delete cannot be called on an identifier in strict mode. As you can see, it refers to the strict mode right here. See here, strict mode. But if I just comment this part, you will see that it's no more an error. So let me save this, and let me just go to the browser and see what happens. As you can see, no error is printed out here, but our IDE has identified the error. So interestingly, our IDE, the times that our IDE refers to an error, you won't be able to see the error inside of your catch error. So you're not going to necessarily see those errors, but if your IDE refers to those errors, you don't have to go and catch it. Okay, so be very careful about these red lines or underlines under the variable or under the script that you're just writing. And notice that deleting a variable is forbidden when you use the strict mode in JavaScript. Now, in another case, we're going to have a string. So let me comment this part as well, and also this one. However, we don't have to necessarily comment this one, but okay, anyway. So, for example, we want to write here something, for example, a string. So, for example, I can say something, for example, a variable let. We need to have let here for all of the time because we're using the strict mode. And then I can write phrase, for example, let phrase be equal to, and then we have quotation mark. Then we use backslash, and then we write a number, for example, or we write something else. But it's better to write a number because in this case we're going to see an error. So let's see if we're going to see that, because this backslash has no kind of meaning here, because there should be something like N or T or something else after backslash, or even it shouldn't exist right here. So with the strict mode, we're probably going to see something wrong about this. So let's see here by using Visual Studio IDE and strict mode in JavaScript with the latest version of JavaScript, we're going to see any error. So here we don't see any error. However, this is not a very good thing to write here. Now, this is no problem because in writing the dates, we use this kind of backslash for the dates. But what about this one? So let's save the code and see what happens with the strict mode. There's also no errors right here, interestingly. So generally there are so many cases where you're going to see some errors using the strict mode that you cannot see normally when coding JavaScript, but sometimes these circumstances change time by time when JavaScript gets updated, or when you use it in, for example, Visual Studio Code. So it's really up to the time and the kind of IDE that you're using, that which kinds of errors will use a strict detect or throw. So, but using this strict code will avoid so many of the pitfalls in coding and can be at times useful for you. So that's it for this tutorial. Also, let me comment this part and also have this one. Also have a B without let, but let's have it commented here. Okay. Or we can have this with let. So let me Control Z here and then write let, or a let without C without let. So for example 89. Save this in order to have different cases. So that's it for this tutorial. It was an important tip when you want to have a kind of code that has less amount of mistakes or less amount of pitfalls.